Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am back after a week off. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 40, overall 425 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824 0210 or email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports, weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. I hope everyone's doing well on this. I can't believe it's already Friday, August 23rd, 2024. I was off this week, but I really wasn't. I was in Buffalo for a couple days covering the Buffalo Bison's farm team of the Toronto Blue Jays for a couple days. So I wrote some game night stories, interviewed some managers and players and stuff. And then last night I was in Toronto for the CNE and also the Argo-Saskatchewan game. So I have a lot of content that I've posted the last couple of days on my social media pages. So check it out. And the CNE was worth going to as well. It was very busy, and but Toronto is always busy. So, all right, guys, I am looking forward to my show today. This is going to be her first appearance on my show, and her name is Tru Nguyen. I hope I get that right. She is a Vietnamese stand-up comedian, based out of Los Angeles, California. And we're going to bring on Tru right now. We're going to talk about her career in the comedy industry and how she started out. Good afternoon, Tru. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. How are things out in Los Angeles these days?
It's hot. It's real hot. You know, LA's a special kind of hot.
Does it get humid there? I've never been to California or LA. Is it a humid type of heat, or is it dry like Arizona?
It gets moist, I would say. And then as you move further out to the desert, it gets drier, you know.
How is the comedy industry these days, and have you had some latest performances recently?
I've been doing a bunch of shows actually down in San Diego, which has been a blast. San Diego is a lot of fun. And I have a couple shows coming up in LA next month as well. So just, working on the craft, as they say. But it's a hustle.
But it's something that you love.
I'm growing to. I think it's a relationship that it takes massaging and nurturing. It's just keeping a clear vision moving forward is sometimes messy, especially with comedy.
It's like any career. Like I'm working to get into radio and media, and you got to start somewhere, and you got to keep grinding and keep working away at it. And the big thing, the word I'm going to use is you have to have a passion for it.
Yes, passion and discipline. That's the other, I think, hard lesson. It's the difference between almost making it, not making it, or like, why bother trying?
And for me too, it's also consistency too. The more consistent you are, that helps as well.
Oh, we're doing all the self-help learning up front right now.
I forgot to ask the last couple comedians I've had on here. I'm from the East Coast. Now, is the humor a little bit different on the West Coast to the East Coast? And have you performed on the East Coast yet so far in your career?
No, not so much as like I've been to other mics and things on the East Coast, but I haven't actually. What? No, I don't think I booked a show out there yet. So I'm still relatively new to comedy, is how I see it. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. Feels still new. I mean, there's a lot of growth and development in the process.
And that's the same as what I'm doing too, and that's what I love about radio and media. Every day I learn something new, and I just want to keep improving. And I get feedback sometimes. Some of it's not helpful, and some of it is. And the only way you get better is that you just got to keep grinding away at it and get better at it.
That's the goal.
All right, True. Can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself and when did you develop an interest in the comedy industry and who were some of your early influences, both male and female?
Gosh, I don't think I ever really thought about specifically going into comedy. And actually, we were just talking about this before we came on, that both of us had a bit of a shift during the pandemic. And very similar for me, what happened was back in 2021, my best friend died. She was very
I'm
young.
s- I'm sorry.
Me too. And I feel bad for the world because she was such a gift to the world. Shout out to Marissa. And I think I had just finished some acting school, like a 2-year program, and it's really in this place where I'm like, what matters anymore? And to be honest, up until the point before she died, I was actually thriving in the lockdown. I know that's not popular, but for me, it was just I was probably the healthiest, best level of self-care I've ever had in my life was during lockdown. It's like, oh, okay, we're all going to be introverts together. When there's no pressure to go out and do things. You can do whatever you want to do, whether it's socializing, right? But staying in. But, comedy was really something that just I stumbled on because I saw an online class that was being offered through East West Players Club, I think it's called. It's an Asian American like actors type of association, and they were teaching a 6-week course with that fan. So I was like, oh, I remember that guy. Heh, why not? I can afford it, and it's all on Zoom. So pretty much once I started that, I just didn't stop. I was really grateful for Zoom shows. I know people give a lot of smack about like doing comedy on Zoom, but I feel like the skills that I got from that is like I'm still practicing being in front of people. I mean, even though it's not in person, it's still people are watching you. And then just it was just a lot of learning. Like I don't know about your own experience, but even mistakes are learning experiences. In fact, those are the biggest learning opportunities, right? Like never gonna do that again.
Absolutely, and that's the best way of learning. And one of the guys from TSN here, it's like ESPN here in Canada, and he said, "Chris, you're going to make mistakes, and that's the only way you get better. If you try to be perfect, then that's when more mistakes happen." And he said, "Be yourself and just be willing to learn from your mistakes, and don't be so hard on yourself."
Well, I think what's worse than not making mistakes or making a lot of mistakes. When you make zero mistakes, you're usually either you're not learning because you've already perfect or mastered whatever you're doing, or you're just not outputting, just slowly dying inside.
Yep, and that, I totally agree with you there. And where are you from originally? I guess you're from Vietnamese originally, or
Vietnam,
yes.
yeah, the country of Vietnam. Yep, yep, that's my origin country, as they say.
And how long have you been in Los Angeles, and how much of an adjustment was it, the cultural wise, going from there to LA?
Oh well, that wasn't the route, but LA is an adjustment. I actually moved to LA from the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. I've only been here for like 2 years. Huge differences, though. It's just night and day, NorCal, SoCal. The vibe is very different.
How competitive is the comedy industry when you first started out? And you mentioned Zoom. I use StreamYard, which is similar to Zoom. And as much as I love doing these virtual shows, the last 2 years now, I've been able to go out and do live in-person interviews with athletes or fan interviews or general people. And there's nothing better than being around people in person, as much as I love doing virtual as well. So I imagine you feel the same way with comedy too. There's nothing better than doing a show live in person.
Yeah, I mean that, because it's sort of the difference between seeing a movie in a movie theater versus watching it on your big screen TV alone on the couch. It's a different experience, right? Like you get an audience more like participation versus, sometimes on these Zoom shows, people don't even have their screens on. So you're just like, I hope someone finds any of this funny besides me. And you're staring at black screens. You're just like, well, the squares aren't disappearing. I must be doing all right, Um, yeah, in person is for sure preferable. But I also think about 'cause my background is I used to do a lot of anti-oppression, cultural competency type of trainings before I had another pursuit. But uh, Zoom really just highlighted also accessibility. So I don't feel some type of way like judgment around people who do Zoom shows because I do think that that creates another opportunity for people who can't leave their homes to access comedy, and for myself, if I'm doing a Zoom show, I treat it as if I am standing right in front of you on stage. I'm going to give you 150%, even if it's in this little tiny square, because again,
Absolutely.
access.
Absolutely, and I do the same thing here too. And we're live on 6 platforms, and we're on a whole bunch of audio platforms. And I have listeners in 37 countries around the world. So this isn't just like the guy in Canada podcast. This is kind of an international podcast, and and this technology. We hear the negative side about it, true, but there are a lot of positives to it if you use it the right way. And I believe you've done it the right way with yourself in the comedy career, and that's what I'm doing with the radio career too.
To be seen, I always feel like, don't want to, what do you call it? Just count your chickens before they're hatched kind of situation.
I
You
call
always take
myself
a
a
wrong
work in
turn.
progress.
Yeah.
I call myself a work in progress. And one thing too, I wanted to ask you, True, for those people that have never seen your work and they're watching this or listening to this later on audio platforms, how would you describe your comedy style?
I think my comedy style is that's a good question. What is my comedy style? I think it's playful, um, authentic, and a little bit emotional in terms of strong feelings. I have strong feelings oftentimes about things just because of my background and the work I've done prior to being a comedian. So I've been a jack of a lot of different trades, and who knows what future ones I might fall into. But for now, it's comedy and acting, and you know, um, trying to throw in some healing work while we're at it.
Now, I know with my former career, I believe it helped me prepare for this. Do you find that in your past jobs, it's kind of helped you with the comedy industry a little bit as well?
Um, Previous jobs, you mean, or
Yes, yes, or careers.
only in the sense of content? It's like I have a lot. Let me just put it this way. For me, my issue is not like, oh, I don't know what to talk about, or I don't know what to write bits on or develop, or what story should I, share. I just feel like me, it's about paring it down, trying to be a little bit more concise. Um, because so much weird stuff has happened to me in my life, and you know, just just in my work alone, the kind of work that I've done. Um, it's just a plethora of topics to choose from in terms of a different perspective on things.
I should have used the word life experiences, and I've kind of used some of my life experiences. And I'll be honest with you, True. I loved talking sports when I was younger, but I was very shy at one point, and I didn't like public speaking and putting myself out there. And I don't think I would have been ready for this in the 20s. So, in a way, maybe waiting a little later in life to start a career, maybe not be might not be the most conventional way, waiting till you're 47 years old, but I feel I'm more prepared for this now than I would have been in my 20s and 30s. So I just wanted your thoughts on that as well in your situation.
Oh, I don't prepare for anything in terms of like career. I mean, I every career I've had has been almost accidental. So, like I said, I wasn't planning on pursuing comedy full time. I was working at a high school full time before this, counseling children, teenagers and things like that. So it was not exactly in the like, oh, well, this is a strategy for living the best life, like that. It was not my reality. It was more like, sucks. My friend died. What can I do? I don't feel like doing anything. What's this comedy thing? It's nuanced enough for me to be like, I guess I'll try this and see if it distracts me from feeling super sad. And then got my brain working in different ways in terms of, what makes comedy funny. And yeah, that was all accidental. It was not like for sure planned.
Well, to be honest, in a way, it was accidental for me too, because how I got into this, I was doing volunteer work with a semi-pro basketball team. They asked me to do camera work. I had volunteered. I've never done it in life. I had no right at that point in my life, I was complacent in my other job and had no plans of leaving. And after I did camera work, I'm like, oh, I like this. And then they liked my work. They actually paid me for doing half a game. And then that led me to doing camera work, to my podcast, to my radio show, and then led to my media opportunities with professional sports teams. So being at the right place at the right time, and maybe it was an accident, but it just kickstarted my passion for this.
Interesting. I feel like for me, it's kind of a little bit of the opposite. It's not so much being in the right place at the right time. It's like being in a place at the wrong time, thinking about wrong things, but then something different pops up and you're like, why not? Um, yeah, and just kind of following my gut on where to go next. Not as clean as a path as you have laid out. I feel like being a comedian's a little bit trickier. Just trying to figure out your footing and community and what is comedy and the business side of things. Never mind like developing your own personal process and as a comedian and figuring out who you are, who I am, on stage, off stage. So it's still pretty green, as I say.
When you first started out at True, did you get an agent or a manager to assist you in this?
No.
Okay.
Like most people I talk to, I don't know about you if in your what do you call it, in your field of work that this happens where some one day they're like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do sports casting. You know what? I think I'm gonna talk about blah 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 and feel like there's no skill set, no professional guidelines around that. And I feel with comedy, like especially with when I first was starting out and people like friends, acquaintances, whatever, coworkers, and they're like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe I should try comedy." Everyone says I'm funny. My friends think I'm hilarious. I'm like, "Do it. Yeah, freaking do it. I'd love to see you in front of like 50 people who are strangers to you. Do it. Do it. Do it." Because I think there's something bold about the confidence of ignorance. I had it too. I'm not trying to say I wasn't, but there's something to then when you get serious about, oh, okay, I actually want to be consistently good at something. Then it's like, oh, wait, there's a whole craft to this, you know. So I was just lucky that I, got my first dip in with someone who was a pro already, which was, that fan who was doing that workshop I was telling you about. I just continued to work with him. And then once things opened up, started commuting from San Francisco to LA pretty much like every other weekend, drive down 7 hours, do 48 hours of comedy and drive right back up to the Bay, be back at work Monday morning. So did that for a year, just so I could have a sense of learning from other people, being in like these venues in LA where it's also exposure, who where you're going. You should know where you're going in terms of just even the spots that you're doing. So I couldn't do that exactly in the Bay, like just because most of my connections were already through Los Angeles because it was all online. So I had built those mini relationships, or at least starting to, during the pandemic, and then just followed through when I actually was able to physically be down here.
Hey, True. How big is connections, especially in the comedy industry, when you're starting out too?
It's different for everybody. It depends. I mean, right now I feel a little bit of a hermit. Like I kind of go in and out of like, oh, gotta save money. Can't go out unless it's like working comedy or something specific to comedy or training classes, workshops. I mean, LA, a little bit known for like how much it targets actors and entertainers for workshops. Like you find a workshop for practically anything out here. So I mean that's how people are trying to build connections. I think it's harder to yield more of like an authentic connection to people. That's harder to do, but it's doable. But it is also Los Angeles, you know. I think as long as you know who you are, that's a good starting point.
Be yourself. Wanted to ask you this too. You said something about acting, so you do a little bit of acting as well?
I do. I do. So that was originally what I was studying before I became a stand-up comedian, I should say. But I haven't done. I mean, I don't have any credits really. I mean, I do have a credit in commercial work. Mostly that's what I audition for. But who knows? I'm open. But right now, I'm very focused more on just sticking with stand-up comedy and developing what I need to, so when opportunities do arise, that I'll be ready for them.
Right now, currently, who are some of your favorite comedians besides yourself, obviously, male and female, and some of your other influences in this industry?
Oh man. I mean, obviously, an influence for me is that fan because he initially trained me in comedy. But who else? I mean, I really enjoy variety, like Tig Notaro. I love the dryness and the like her storytelling, but it's just so keeled but hilarious. Um, Margaret Cho is like more on the icon level of comedy. Like when I think about even before I even thought about being a comedian, she's somebody who created even the possibility for other, female Asian comedians to even fathom that we could have a career, if that makes sense. So I think those are important pieces to note. But like I remember growing up listening to, Stephen Wright. Like I love his dry, ironic, weird comedy. Who else? George Carlin also, like I have a bit of the angry streak in me. Like that's something that I have to constantly work on to not like come up as angry all the freaking time. Who else? Taylor Tomlinson is a more contemporary person. I think she's hilarious. Um, Obviously Ali Wong, like when she came onto the scene, just incredible, like comedian, writer, just like but also someone, again, like everyone kind of has their, I don't know, niche is quite the word, but something about them. And I'm still figuring out what my something about me is that's different from other comedians. But yeah, I have been compared to having a little bit of the Ali Wong energy in me. Just, I'm probably not as liberated she is on the topics that she talks about, and obviously she's funny. So I'm working on that part.
How has in the last decade, I guess, our society in Canada, the States, has to be politically correct more. How has that changed the comedy industry? Or comedians still feel free to just say what they want to say? You know what I'm saying with this politically correct, our society nowadays?
I mean, I guess you'll have to ask someone who's successful because I feel like people who are making it, they're the ones who are probably more likely to worry. So, I'll tell you, going on open mics, when you're working new material, particularly, like I'm in rooms where it's still the same old dick jokes for 70% of the time up there. It's still male dominated. It's still some really questionable stuff that's being put out there. Like, I feel like one of my pet peeves that I have around this is that when people um, say they do stand up comedy instead of getting therapy, anything can be therapeutic. Running 10 miles can be therapeutic for some people. They get their running high. It doesn't make it therapy. So I always kind of like snicker inside. I don't know. Snickering is not quite the right word for it, but it's questionable. I mean, if it's done right, depends on what the bit is. But I can tell. I mean, it's very visible when people, what do they say? When the trauma's showing. And I'm a professional. I can say that. So it's interesting to me, like what PC is for me. Like if I come off PC or when I'm watching my language around it, it's not so much just around the worry of getting canceled, but because of the kind of life experiences I've had, excuse me, I am careful about how I phrase things because I want to be mindful about how it impacts people who are part of marginalized communities that I'm also part of or that I'm not part of, you know, because I've seen the impact. So for me, it's not like, oh, let's try to be PC about it. I'm more like, oh, well, how if you're good at what you do, you can do something that's not PC, but it can be done with humility. It can be done well, and the well part is important. You know what I mean? Um, and I think in the general scene of things, there's not a lot of craft around crass. It just depends on what your flavor is. You know, I think people can joke about whatever it is that they want, honestly. But you gotta like be ready to accept the consequences of those decisions. People have different values. That's okay. But also the market will tell you whether they take it or not. So it's not my place to judge, is what I'm saying. I'm responsible for my choices around like what I want to do with my comedy.
For those that are watching this live stream, by the way, on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, X, I call it Twitter still, and Instagram, and later on audio, True. Those that are looking to get into the comedy industry, what advice would you give them from your experience so far?
I mean, try it. Go to some open mics, and if you're serious, there's like books, but also like there are coaches. But do your homework, do your research. But the main thing is like there are classes you can take where you learn basic, joke structure. So it's not just, again, like I said, when I first started, everyone was like, "Oh yes, my friends think I'm funny, therefore I could be a comedian." When it's like I can nail two pieces of freaking wood together, but that doesn't make me a carpenter, you know what I mean? Like, I made you this bird, feeder thing, whatever. So I feel the same thing with comedy is like, know what you're working with. You can do the research. And just like anything else, that if you're serious in a career, treat it like a career, which means training, which means like finding out like who's on top of their game that you're interested in. Find out what kind of comedian you are. I mean, like I said, I feel like I'm still even working through that. I said I'm 3 years old. I'm in the terrible threes.
Oh, I'm in the 50s, so I'm ancient. I'm 52, by the way.
Oh no, I meant like as in change of career, like when
Okay.
you, yeah, yeah.
Then I'm in the fourth. This is only my fourth year. So I'm in terms of experience in radio, I'm still kind of a rookie too.
Yeah, and there are just things that life by doing, right? Like going to these mics and things, or even like going to shows and seeing what works and doesn't work. There's just so much to study, within comedy context. So it's not boring to me. Sometimes it's painful because, like I said, everyone has a different flavor of comedy, and not everyone's skilled in doing it, and we're all growing at different, and we're in different places. So that's sort of like the battlefield, if you will, going out there. But like, I try not to stay too focused on like what someone else is doing, or like people who maybe started around the same time, and what it's the whole like envy or whatever, like how come this person has this opportunity and I don't like to get caught up in that. I try to stay more focused on like, what do I need to work on. Today it's going to be not dying because I'm a little bit accident prone, you know um I mean, if I had a tagline, it would be, uh, "I'm queer and still here." Why? I don't know, but I'll make you laugh. Like it's puzzling sometimes to think about how are we still alive based on our life decisions.
How important is this having a good support system too?
Oh, extremely important. I mean, it can be in an emotional desert out here, and like in I don't think just LA, but like the idea of the entertainment, industry where what other people think of you does matter, which is counterintuitive to like the psychology of like, don't give an F about what other people think of you, like, know who you are, blah, 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 blah. It's very contradicting messages that are real on both sides. And so finding that in between balance helps when you have a good support network. Like I mean, I'm fortunate that I have different types of friends from different work fields. Like I have a whole slew of friends that are from grad school who I who are now like myself therapists. So like when I talk with them, it's a whole other kind of different type of conversation versus comedians who I'm friends with, and we hang out outside of just doing comedy. I think that's important too. Friends that are in different sectors of entertainment, and then also like people who are not connected to necessarily here, but back in the Bay Area or family. So it's kind of, I really like the term chosen family. And like for me as a queer person, that is even more important when I think about building support, being a comedian. So I don't know what this career will look like, but I know that I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. But I do need to figure out what kind of tea I'm pouring. So
I
I know
I,
what's
I
in there.
I can relate that too. And you know what? It's like radio media. You're going to have your successes and you're going to have your setbacks. And it's important to have a strong mindset, but also a strong support system because even I imagine in the comedy industry too, you're going to have your successes, but you're going to have your, I don't use the word failures, I call them temporary setbacks.
Mm.
One thing before we get to your video, True, from the Flappers Comedy YouTube channel, wanted to ask you this. How important is the writing aspect of the jokes? Would you say when somebody's getting into the comedy industry, maybe they should learn how to write the jokes first? Get that, get get good at that before going on stage.
I don't know about no, not necessarily because I think people learn differently. I think the question is not like what's first, but like the intention of how much you're going to actually invest in it. Because you might be a great writer, but you're a sucky performer, right? Like, so it's not something that I think like you have to do one thing then the other. It's more like figuring out like a seesaw. How do you, like what's leveraging what today? Where do you need to move things around? And also like people have different points of struggle. It might be memorization, it might be having emotions, it might be uh, the writing part. So I think if you're committed to wanting to do it, then find your teachers, whatever way that looks like, and resources. I think where you might get stuck is if you're like, well, I'm just going to be funny, which people do, which is fine. Like, and a lot of people have done it because they didn't know, that there are other resources. Oh, I'm just gonna go out and you know do my jokes, and if people don't laugh, then that's their problem. If there's not like a self-reflection process, like what is your process? I guess it would be my question for people. Like, what is your process for growing uh, in your career or what you want around comedy? I mean, I ask myself that like every morning. Like, what are we doing today? What direction are we? What steps are we taking?
On average, how long is an average performance for you on live stage? And I know some comedians I've talked to, they prefer to go on in the middle of a show. I don't know how you feel, if you like to go right at the beginning, the middle, or the end. And also too, True, I wanted to ask you, how long does it take for you to engage an audience, their mood, before you go on?
Well, ideally, it should be the first second you step on stage. If you're worth any of your salt, I would hope, right at the moment my foot hits the stage. But it depends on the audience, and I mean, again, I think like the comedy is so fickle based on location, based on who's in the room, what is it for, who's doing it. I don't really know how to answer that question.
Okay. No problems. And what I'm gonna, like you said, I've always had a curious mind, and that's what I love about my show too, is the storytelling aspect, but asking my guests questions and learning from each guest as well. And and everybody's got a story to tell, and that's what I love about this.
Do you get like because this is live streamed, right?
Yes, it is.
Do you get like people, what do you call it, interacting on the feed, or is it in
Occasionally, yes, yeah, occasionally. Today, so far, nothing, but there's some days where I get a lot of comments, so it
Ugh,
just depends. It just depends. There's some
nobody's
days.
watching you today, True.
I've even had somebody call in before, so yeah, I've even had to put my phone on speaker, and I've even had phone calls too. But I don't worry necessarily about the numbers. I just worry about trying to produce good guests and good shows, and the numbers will come eventually. And yeah, there's some shows where I get 20 comments, and there's some I get one. So it just depends. I just want to focus on having, like I said, a really good episode with my guests.
While you were just talking, an answer clicked in my head, and one portion of the question that you asked me before, which is like, how much time do I feel comfortable doing, or when going up is ideal. And for me, I think like I don't care when I go up. I just want to go up at this point. You know what I mean? Like, how you put me in the bullet position, which is like the first one, on a long set, like that's the bullet position, because you really have to, like, you're like, here I come. You're the first one out to the audience, and either you're a sacrificial lamb or you're like, all right, we're getting the ship off the road. It's a little bit different pressure than, like, say, a headliner. I'm not a headliner yet, but that's the goal. But I can do up to 20 minutes, half an hour of material. Most
Wow.
of the time, like I said, I don't have a shortage of things to talk about. But in terms of what usual, I mean, it will range, depends on what kind of show you're on. Sometimes it's a tight five. Other times you have these next two couple of shows coming up. I think I have an 8-minute set and a 10-minute set on these next two shows coming up. So they're a gooder chunk of time. But as I develop, I find that it's very limiting, and it becomes around like, okay, how can I, as a headliner, if I think I want to be doing 45 to an hour, if not more, of time, like, and what would that look like? So there are things that are in my hopper to build towards that. But it is like a very contrary experience because, as a stand-up comedian, usually if you're up there, you get 5 to 8, depending on the show, like I said. And so you're longing for something more, right? And you're longing more for a more of a building of a connection with your audience.
Before you go on live stage, I ask this with musicians too. Do you have any rituals or superstitions, or listen to music or something to calm you, relax you before a performance, a live performance?
Oh, really? What do people do? Just I just sit in my anxiety. No, I think for before a show, it's like I'm already prepared, and most of the time I try to stay focused because, again, like I have ADHD, so I have to be very disciplined and not veer from the plan, so to speak. So most of the time, like if it's in the green room, or when I'm even just driving to the venue, it's about getting my head in the right mindset of comedy. And it's like, how do you wipe whatever has happened in the day, whatever has happened in the week, so that when you get on stage, you're like freshy fresh for, meeting new people basically when you go on stage. And I don't know, I used to be an extrovert, but I think like the pandemic turned me into an introvert. This is so much more fun all by myself. So I've gotten more shy, I should say, in terms of the social interactions. Feels awkward still. Maybe I was always like that. I just was better at hiding it. But the main focus is like, all right, paying attention to what I'm supposed to be doing for the show to go off without a hitch.
And hey, believe me, I'm gonna be honest with you too. The first 4 years I was alive, I didn't talk, and my parents were worried about me. And then after I turned 5, I haven't shut up. So I'm a talker, and I have to admit I was shy in school and stuff. But the older I've gotten, I've been more socially outgoing, and I think during the pandemic, which took away a lot of our freedoms for 2 years. Now, when I'm out in public, I think I'm more of a people person than I was before the pandemic as well.
Oh, I'm total opposite.
That's okay, man. Yeah, like you said, you seem cool, and I love hearing about your story and your experiences, and that's why I love doing this is the storytelling aspect of it. And I guess in a way, I'm an entertainer too. Maybe not a comedian entertainer, but a talking entertainer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're both in the field of like having to communicate a passion, right? In a way that's engaging with to other people.
Absolutely. Are you still good for a little more time? Because I want to play this video clip
Sure.
from
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Flappers Company
Go for it.
YouTube channel and get your thoughts on it. Okay. Thank you so
Sure.
much. Do you have a YouTube channel yet, by the way, True?
No, it's being revamped. Like that's something that in the works right now. The main social media is Instagram and Facebook that I use, and
Oh,
TikTok, but
okay.
mostly Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. Deal. And just let me know if you can hear the audio okay.
Sure.
Just 1 second, guys. And this is courtesy of the Flappers Comedy Club out in, I believe, Burbank, California. Just 1 second is what is Tru Nguyen's American name. And thank you so much.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Again, my name is Tru Nguyen, and my American name is I don't have one. But here's the thing though, my name actually loosely translates to a type of bamboo. The kind that you would feed to an old, fat, dying panda. Bamboo. Let me just put it this way. If I was growing in your front lawn, you would need Roundup to get rid of me. And by the way, Roundup is made by the same people who brought you Flintstone vitamins and Agent Orange. Yabba dabba, you're dead. Or not in my case. So as mentioned, I did move here from the Bay Area literally maybe 8 weeks ago. I do have a minor tiff that occurred to me at this festival because they have an LGBT showcase, and I didn't know that they were having that. And I know that when I tell people I'm from the Bay Area, they like to assume that I might be just a little gay. What do I gotta do to be like, I'm hella gay? Oh my God, I'm like a brand new unicorn. Sunshine! And then the rain of tears. Because that's what brings the rainbows, y'all. Send y'all love. And with moving, however, anyone move recently? Or had to help people move in the pandemic at all? Yeah. Not stressful at all, right? Yeah, I didn't need those extra years off my life. I'm usually a really organized mover. Pretty sure though, next time I'm gonna try boxes. Yeah, because my brand is more like hefty. Hefty. Strong enough to overstuff. Which is also my buffet mantra. And the thing is, now the trouble with using the hefty bags is that it's a guessing game for me of what's in the bag. Some things are easier than others. One is, oh yeah, that's my side table. That over there, that pokey thing over there, that would be all the resentful letters and knickknacks from my exes. Just throw that in there, carry it around wherever you go, and to the next place and location in your heart. Now, I know some of you are thinking, somebody's got baggage. I call it evidence. Yeah, that I probably should not date. Just in case I forgot what type I should not go for. And I'll just do a quick pulse check here. Where are the straight ladies? Okay, all right, okay. Too close. Oh my gosh. You see how instantly I react. I know where the danger is. It's just striking and beautiful. And deceiving in some ways, Dating apps, okay? Anyone doing those? The dating apps, brave enough or have no soul? Well, I'm in the same boat as y'all. I can't even answer some of these really complicated questions that they have. What are you? What am I? I mean, that's kind of deep for a profile picture. And I want to be honest, because that's what we want to do on our dating profiles, to be deeply honest. I mean, are you asking, like, what's in, well, it depends on the day. Is that what you're asking? Or are you asking, like, are you, like, more masculine over here? Or are you more feminine? Are you gonna wear makeup? Will you wear a dress for me? Who's gonna be Bill? And if I'm gonna be honest, I wish there was a box to check for, the only way I can describe how I would answer that question is, hey, what you want. Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Judy.
Oh my God.
Thoughts on that? Thoughts on that? I think it was a couple years ago at Flappers Comedy Club,
Yeah.
and just thoughts on it. I thought that was great, and that's why I wanted to play the video.
Yeah, oh my God, that brought back memories. I mean, it's interesting to think about because I'm in a different place with comedy too, and even like my opening joke I don't do anymore because I changed my name, right? So it's just interesting. It's good to see. I was like, oh yeah, I remember where that piece is now in terms of development because I've had like other bits develop off the spine of the content that you just shown, but yeah, it's kind of cool. Thanks for sharing that. I've forgotten that I did that.
Like I said, I love doing that with all my guests, and I thought it was great. And just thoughts on the Burbank Comedy Festival as well.
I mean, I think it's a great festival. It's like you get to meet so many other comedians from around the world. Flappers is a great club to be able to showcase your work and try to also do more of their mics and things like that. But they had very useful workshops as well. So I mean, I like the Burbank Comedy Festival. It's just like I'm really terrible with deadlines to remember when they happen. But that was my first time I think that I did it. Yeah, Before I wasn't even living completely. No, I had just moved. Yeah, so it was a very still like LA is new, comedy still new, like very what's the saying? Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Yes.
Weird, like a squirrel. I don't know. Squirrely ears.
What has been the biggest audience you've performed in front of so far? And what are some of your I shouldn't say favorite, but yeah, I guess I will. What have been some of your favorite places to perform comedy at so far?
I don't know if I have a favorite place. Like I said, I think developmentally where I am is like I am just happy to be performing, to be on stage. Ideally, it's nice when you're in a theater type of setting or where people are coming for comedy versus like doing comedy at a bar that maybe is not advertised as such. So it's like you're trying to do stand up with unconsenting people. So that's a little bit less fun. It's a different type of challenge, like these bar shows. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, even during the pandemic, when people are coming out of it, I would if there was a show in a parking lot, I was freaking there. If it's in the middle of a park, I'm there. You got a mic, you gave me time. All right, let's do this. So I don't think that I'm at this place where I can be like, well, I only do amphitheaters of this size. Um, I was fortunate to, what year was it? Maybe it was that year or year after, maybe 2023 or 2022. I can't remember at the top of my mind right now, but I did have an opportunity to go tour with Dat Fan in Texas, which is slightly terrifying, but glad I did it and it was fun. And being in front of audiences and being part of an actual professional headliners tour was like very eye opening, in terms of what's it like a little taste of what it's like to be on the road, and also what does that mean in terms of working audiences, because I think there's content that people do sometimes that's very like insider LA, which who the heck cares anywhere else, you know? So I try to keep in mind in terms of um, what is it that myself and the audience can relate to, because there should be a lot because we're human beings to begin with, you know. But it's how much do I want to show of me depending on the amount of time that I have. So that was a lot of fun, terrifying and fun at the same time. Terrification.
Do you have any plans in the future of going outside of California and maybe one day Canada? Because when people think of Canada, snow, igloos, hockey, and beer. Canada is one of the best countries in the world for comedians as well over the years,
I would
decades.
love to do Canada. Are you kidding me? I would love it. I was just figuring out how to make those opportunities happen.
I
Are
think
you are you booking me? Is that what you're saying?
and Toronto is well known for comedians as
Yeah.
well, and Second City. And I grew up in the '70s here watching SCTV, which was our Saturday Night Live with the late John Candy, Eugene
Mm.
Levy, Joe Flaherty, Martin Short. So we've had a lot of actors, actresses, and comedians from our country come to the states as well. And Toronto is a combination of Los Angeles and New York, and I think I think you would like performing here as well.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love an opportunity to perform in Toronto. I'm down for it. Somebody bring me there. Give me a reason to go. It's helpful to have a little money too to get there. But
Yeah, our dollar is not good. Our Canadian dollar is only 70 cents to American. So for me right now to get 100 American will cost me 142 Canadian.
oof,
It's in your favor, not ours.
it may appear that way. Yes, it
Yes.
may appear that way.
And our money is called loonies and toonies. $1 coins are loonies, $2 are toonies, and then yeah, our money's plastic. So
At least it's real.
and we're going cashless eventually in the next 5 years. I believe everyone it's going to be all cashless. I
Oh, are
think
you all getting microchipped?
I'd see. I got facial. I went to a football game last night. I didn't do media work. I went as a fan, and they made me take my hat off so they can take my picture of my ugly face to see if I had a criminal background. That's the new thing now at these
Um,
sporting events.
wow. I mean, I'm sure it helps to a certain degree, and there's also probably a lot of room for misuse as well. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Hey, I forgot to mention this too. What was it like recently placing best in the fest at the Burbank Comedy
That was
Festival? How
from
much?
that clip that you
Clip.
sent. Yeah, back then. That was back in 2022. I mean, I was delightfully surprised, but I also know that I worked hard. Um, Worked hard with writing, worked hard with, preparing for it, worked hard on practicing. So, I mean, it may not be much in terms of like, oh, this is my five. And I think that's also like a difference for someone who's newer to it. It's really finding the longevity of how do you keep going beyond the five, beyond just like, okay, the dopamine of getting the audience to laugh with you.
And before we wrap this up, True, can you tell us about some of your upcoming live comedy shows?
Oh yeah, you can go to my Instagram page. Actually, I just posted a reel today, I think. That I have two shows coming up in mid-September. One's at the Fourth Wall Cafe, and the other one's going to be at the Golden Rail Bar and Grill. I think that's what it's called. It's on my Instagram page. But yeah, I have a little bit longer sets on those two shows. Hopefully, people can come out and support live comedy. I always appreciate when people come through. And yeah, it'll be fun.
Are they available live stream or they stopped doing that now?
Those two shows are not live streamed, they're in-person shows.
Okay. And do you have somebody record them for you and then make sure you put them on your social media pages as well into clips?
Uh, no, it depends on the venue because sometimes the venue will like they don't allow you to record your own set or they record your set and then you have to purchase it or something like that. So it just depends on what the venue and the producer of the show decide for it. But I try to get at least pictures, and then whatever footage I can get, I try to then clip and put on social media, encourage people to come out and support.
I did not know that, and that's why I love doing this show. I always learn new things from my guests as well. Hey, so, have you ever been to Canada yet so far in your life?
Vancouver, yeah.
Vancouver? What did you think of Vancouver, British
Vancouver is
Columbia?
beautiful. I used to go up there quite a bit because I used to live in Seattle at one point in my life. So it was a
That's
hop,
like
skip,
2
and a
hours
drive.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like for me for Buffalo, New York, I'm like 2 hours from Buffalo, New York, and 3.5 hours from Detroit. What's one thing about Canada that you like in your time in Vancouver?
I just felt like it was more diverse, compared to Seattle. I mean, that was back then, in the late 90s, 2000s when I was living out that way. But, and it's just beautiful, beautiful scenery, outdoors, clean. Um, Daiso back then wasn't in the States yet, not to the size that they have. Um, yeah, I mean, there was just a lot to do. It was different. It was like not the United States to a certain degree in terms of, I mean, it's international travel, but it's not international travel. It's like very American friendly in the sense of like, oh, we all speak English mostly. like, uh, but there's lesser barriers, I think, in terms of getting around and things like that. But Vancouver itself, like, just so much to do there. Beautiful, great city, good food, good people. What's not there to like?
Here's a fun fact of me. I was born in Canada and I live in Ontario, the biggest province in Canada. Provinces are like your states. I've been to more states than my own country, so I really need to start traveling around Canada more too. Not that I don't love coming to the States, but I need to see more of Canada as well.
I feel you.
And finally, what are some fun facts about yourself that your audience might not know about you, True?
Fun facts. Those are always tricky. What's a fun fact?
Or even one fun fact.
Here's a fun fact. So, one of my career decisions before becoming a comedian, I actually was going to either be my choices were therapist, firefighter, or bounty hunter.
Wow.
And I made progress in three areas, different parts of those three different careers. It's just one I followed through on, and the other two fell to the side. Let's just put it that way. So, yeah, I have a lot of different interests. Is how that plays out in terms of fun fact.
And since I'm a sports guy, are you a sports fan at all?
I like to get into the local sports. So when I lived in Oakland, poor Oakland, man. We
They've lost everything. They've
they
lost
take
other
it
teams.
from us. Why do they gotta take it from us? Freaking. So I do have a lot of like, Bay Area Oakland pride because like we get things, we're like the forgotten cousin, stepchild, whatever of San Francisco. But you don't want to mess with us. Even though you take our sports teams away, we're like diehards all the way through, diehards, and like so when things were hot in Oakland before they got taken away from us, I was like, yeah. Raiders. Yeah, all right, let's go. 49ers. Yeah, let's go with not the 49ers. That's San Francisco, right? I almost trickered myself
They
there.
don't even play in San Francisco anymore. They play in Santa Clara, which is
Jeez.
about 40 minutes from San Francisco.
Yeah, well, whatever. It doesn't matter to me anyways at this moment. My friends will probably burn me for this, but it doesn't matter. But like Oakland has a lot of heart, you know. And that's what I relate to in the sports team is especially when we have like an underdog type of story going on, like Golden State did when it started before we got sold out.
Yeah, and when I hear the name Raiders, I still think of them as the Oakland Raiders playing in that dark hole stadium, and and now the Oakland A's are going to end up playing in Sacramento and minor league ballparks for the next 3 years. And to me, Oakland's had a great sports history, and it's a business, but I really do think they should kept the A's and the Raiders. But unfortunately, it comes down to who has the money to build a new stadium for these teams.
It's a rough game. I mean, not the sports, but the politics behind sports. So
Lots of it.
I just know that the Bay Area people who are into the old Oakland sports teams, like it's beyond just having a heart. It's like we're passionate people, like take things to the next level. So I appreciate that, the grit that comes with the sports teams that come out of the Bay.
Absolutely. And finally, True, where can my audience follow you on social media and the best way of contacting you?
Instagram is the way to go, babies. It's TRU_Nguyen NGUYEN comedy at Instagram. That's the best way. You can message me through that. Um, yeah, yeah, that's probably the easiest and what I
Any
check the
plans
most.
for any plans for a website in the future?
Hopefully within the next, yes.
Okay.
This is part of the plan, the little get it together, taking steps forward and structuring things. Like I said, it's like a seesaw. Like, what am I managing today? Is it the business side, the writing side, the performance side, the mental health side, the get it together side? It's all having to happen at various points at the same time, but not, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I have all your information down here. And by the way, promoting yourself on social media is a full-time job itself,
Oh yeah.
especially TikTok, man. It's just because I produce a lot of content and it's nonstop. And I learned how to edit video too, which is tedious, but it's something that you need to do to promote yourself
Got
as
to
well.
do it for sure.
Gotta do it. But hey, True, I want to say thank you so much for giving us over an hour of your time today. I really enjoyed speaking with you and learning about your story and the comedy industry. And you have an open invite to come back on my show again in the future.
Ah,
And
thank you.
hopefully one day we'll see you perform here in Canada. And I need to get out to California because I have a lot of connections and friends I've made off this show out in Los Angeles. And I really want to get out there at some point too, before I turn 55.
Oh, do it, man. And I'm sure you could get like that, whoever like you're connected to in LA, especially comedians, like you could probably do a live podcast show like in
Yes.
studio or something like
Yes.
that. That would be fun.
Absolutely. And hey, quickly, before we wrap this up, what's the one thing you love about LA the most? Not the traffic.
I actually don't mind the traffic.
Really? Wow.
I spend a lot of time. I mean, I love driving. I just have a crappy car. Like, I wish I had a better vehicle to drive. But I actually really, because I spent so much time even in the Bay Area sitting in traffic. But I'm not gonna lie, that's where I cry. That's where I think of things. That's where I like process a lot of things in between jobs that I'm going back and forth to, just sitting in traffic. We're going nowhere, but I can go a lot of different places up here. So I feel less guilty when I'm sitting in traffic thinking all the garbage that I think about when I should be doing something else.
So, all right. Well, hey, True, I want to say thank you so much again for coming on here. Continue success in your career, and give me a little bit of time tonight,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I will send you the audio copy, the video copy, and I will cut down. Reduce our show into 5 or 6 clips, and you can share on your social media
Awesome.
plays
Oh
it,
my gosh.
social media pages as well. I love doing this. I work a lot, but when it's a passion, it's not really work.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate you having me on your show.
And one day we will catch you live in person, whether it's in LA or in Canada. And I just want to, I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, True. Have a good night. Great
Okay.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed season 8, episode 40, overall 425 today with my guest, Tru Nguyen. She is a stand up comedian, an actress based out of Los Angeles, California. So I have her Instagram and TikTok pages here. She's on Instagram, TikTok, and she's on Facebook as well. And one day she is going to have a YouTube channel as well as her own website. And that clip today was courtesy of Flappers Comedy, the Flappers Comedy YouTube channel as well. Guys, before we wrap up this show, guys, Connor Sauve, who's an Argo fan, is going to be doing a walk on Saturday, August 31st. Connor will be attempting to walk 65 kilometers from BMO Field to Tim Hortons Field. The estimate time for Connor Sauve's walk is going to be 15 hours of walking, going along Lakeshore the majority of the way. The walk will be a challenge, but does not compare to the challenges families are facing when it comes to childhood childhood cancer. Please, if you're able to donate, head over to Connor Sauve's Twitter page at Sauve with a capital S, Sauve Connor, for the link on his pinned post, or simply Google CFL fans fight cancer 2024. And there's more information down here as well to Michael's foundation fundraising page as well. So thumbs up to Connor Sauve for doing this. I met Connor last night at the Argonauts 20-19 win over Saskatchewan. Check out my social media pages with my picture with him. And again, Connor is going to be doing his walk again on Saturday, August 31st, 65 kilometers from BMO Field in Toronto to Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. And if you guys can help out, you can donate through his Twitter X link at Sauve with a capital S, Sauve Connor as well, or CFL fights cancer as well. So again, thumbs up to Connor Sauve for what he's doing, and make sure you guys are able to help out. And too many people nowadays are getting cancer, so make sure to see your doctor regularly and get checkups like I'm going to be doing very soon too as well, to make sure you get it detected before it's too late. All right, guys, before we wrap up this show, the next Argo Bounce live audio show with Chris Pame and Nick Small is going to be tomorrow, Saturday, August 24th at 7 p.m. with a special surprise guest. Nick and I are going to talk Argos Saskatchewan game, Argos winning 2019 on a Rouge, and we're going to explain to some of you what a Rouge is in the Canadian Football League. We're going to break down Nick's and my experience at the Canadian National Exhibition going on, and we're going to have a guest on too. So tune in 7 p.m. tomorrow Eastern for the 10th episode of the Argo Bounce live audio show with Nick Small and myself. The next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCullen.com and on WQEE 99.1 FM, Monday, August 26th at 5 p.m. Eastern. Special guest, Paula Jane Newman, a stand-up comedian and actress out of Los Angeles, California. So tune in 5 p.m. Monday, 2 p.m. on the West Coast time as well. If you guys are looking for your best friend and a furry friend, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722 or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. If you're looking to adopt, older profiles are on their website again at cambridgehumanesociety.org. And they're also doing a monthly 50-50 raffle, and you can get tickets through the website I've put here and mentioned, and you can also get the tickets at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. And if you're looking to volunteer, you can fill out a volunteer application through cambridgehumanesociety.org. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. My website to check out my social media sites and all my media work and previous radio shows is at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is again sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Or email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Family run and operated in Guelph since 1969. And speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, they have an employee pricing event for their customers. The offer ends on August 26th in a couple of days. A 2024 Silverado 1500 high country pickup truck. You can get up to $10,500 off select Silverado 1500 crew cab models. More details at barrycullen.com. Live with CDP merchandise is coming. I'm getting some new shirts, a new logo, and some new shirts design. So stay tuned for more details as well. You can also follow this content creator at TikTok at Live with CDP. I have a lot of content this week from Salem Field covering the Buffalo Bison's games against the Omaha Storm Chasers. Buffalo are the top farm team of the Toronto Blue Jays. Omaha is from Kansas City. So check out all my pictures, videos, and pre and post game interviews with the Bisons and Nick Batters, the voice of the Omaha Storm Chasers as well. And I want to give a shout out to Pat Malacaro and the Bison's team for inviting me down to cover the team is media. And if you've never been to a Bison's game, go to bisons.com/single game tickets. And the Bison season's wrapping up. They have about maybe 30 games left or so and about another month to go. And the Bisons this weekend are playing the Storm Chasers from Omaha, Kansas City's farm team. And minor league baseball is amazing. So check it out. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com for basic free plans or professional plans. More details at StreamYard.com. And I've been with StreamYard now for 4 years. Big thumbs up and check them out. Finally, guys, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, and YouTube Music. And make sure you hit that subscribe notification on YouTube Music to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. And also, I want to say thank you to all my subscribers on YouTube and for viewing my channel. And if you haven't subscribed, type in Chris Palme Live with CDP Sports Talk and hit that subscribe notification. Finally, guys, you can email or text Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And before we wrap up this show, guys, again, I want to say thank you so much to my guest today, Tru Nguyen, a stand-up comedian and actress out of Los Angeles, California, for coming on. And again, the Argo Bounce Show, episode 10, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock with Nick Small and myself. And the next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCullin.com and on WQEE 99.1 FM, is going to be Monday, August 26th, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 on the West Coast, with guests Paula Jane Newman, a stand-up comedian and actress out of Los Angeles, California. I hope everybody has a great day, great weekend. And for some of you guys, check out the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto. It's going on until September 2nd. You'll have a great time as well. All right, everybody. Thank you again to Tru Nguyen for coming on, and everybody for watching this live stream and on audio platforms. And of course, those listening on WQEE 99.1 FM. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night and on Monday.